Chapter 11. The Clumsy Beauty and Her Aunts. One morning when Ursula had tried to spin once again, she had tangled the thread.
"Oh, good woman, why are you scolding this lovely girl?"
"Your Majesty, I was only scolding her for working too much. She spins 3 pounds of flax in a day, weaves it into linen the next, and makes it all into shirts the day after."
"My mother will be happy to meet her. She herself is the greatest spinner in the kingdom."
That evening, when they all dined together, the prince and Ursula enjoyed each other's company. But the thought of spinning sent a chill to Ursula's heart. After the feast, the queen led Ursula to a beautiful bedroom. "You may begin to work tomorrow morning. I will expect to see these 3 pounds as nice thread the morning after." The next morning, she began spinning with a heavy heart. Though she had a nice wheel and the finest flax, the thread broke every time she touched it. Finally, she burst out crying. "Will you promise to invite poor Kolyak Kashmore to your wedding with the young prince? If you do, all 3 pounds of your flax will be made into the finest thread while you sleep tonight." "Indeed, I will welcome you." The next morning, Ursula woke to find the finest thread she had ever seen. "What a brave girl! I'll send you my own mahogany loom, but you need not work any more today. Work and rest, that's my motto. Tomorrow you can weave all this thread." But the next morning, when she sat down at the queen's loom, she was even more frightened than before. As she sat there in grief, a little old woman with wide hips suddenly appeared before her. She said her name was Kolyak Kashmore. She offered the same bargain as Kolyak Kashmore. Ursula accepted eagerly. The queen was overjoyed the next morning when Ursula showed her linen as fine and white as the finest paper. "Rest today. If you have all this made into nice shirts tomorrow, you may present one of them to my son and marry him soon after." Poor Ursula trembled the next day as she sat with scissors, needle, and thread in her hand. But after she had waited patiently, an old woman with a big red nose appeared before her. The woman introduced herself as Kolyak Kashmore, and she made the same offer as the 2 before her. Ursula accepted with relief, and sure enough, when the queen paid her an early visit the next morning, there were a dozen fine shirts lying on the table. Ursula's grand wedding took place a few days later.
"Your ladyship's aunt, Kolyak Kashmore, wants to know if she might come in."
"Dear madam, why is your foot so big?" "I was standing almost all my life at the spinning wheel, that's why."
"I don't want you to spend even 1 hour at the same spinning wheel. Your ladyship's aunt, Kolyak Kashmore, wishes to enter."
"Why, madam, do you have such wide hips?" "That is owing to sitting all my life at the loom."
"My wife will never sit at the loom. Your ladyship's aunt, Kolyak Kashmore, wants to come to the banquet."
"Please tell us why your nose is so big and red." "Your Majesty, my head was bent down over stitching all my life. All the blood in my body ran into my nose."
"My darling, if I ever see a needle in your hand, I'll run 100 miles from you."
So Clumsy Ursula became free of spinning work for the rest of her life and lived happily with her prince.